This is Allyse for RacersGuide.com here with Taylor Weld and Matt Budd from the new racing company Vahlco Wheels. Hi guys, how are you today?
Good.
How did the company come to be?
You want to field this one?
Certainly. The company came about from the acquisition of the assets from Vahlco Wheels, which is a company that was formed in 2009. From there, Mr. Vahlco owns the company. I guess saw the opportunity to take the racing wheels market by storm and decided to basically buy out Vahlco from the industry to have a nice foundation to build on, and took a year off from producing wheels to make sure all his ducks were in a row for the new company release coming this December.
Now, what are the new products that the company is going to be offering that are different from the previous product?
Well, one of the first things we did is really look at the market and try to understand what was currently available and what really kind of were the areas that were lacking in the market. One of the areas we knew that we wanted to go after was the sprint car market, so we focused real heavily on development for new products in both the sprint car market and also revamping the entire wide five line that we had for both modifieds and late models. So we've come up with a lot of new products, spent, as Matt said, most of this year trying to basically retool the company and really get things in place so that we can hit 2015 really hard. So really sprint cars, modifieds, late models, and the micro market is really going to be our focus going forward.
Now, your tagline is made for racers by racers. How is your company going to help benefit the racers in the long run?
I think a lot of it is we're simply going to listen to what the racers have been saying for a long time. They're looking for a company that understands from a racer's perspective what they need in order to go out and just go racing every weekend. A lot of these guys are paying for racing out of their own pocket. They can't afford to put, a whole bunch of inventory on their shelves, thinking they're going to use it maybe in 6 months. If a guy wrecks that weekend, he usually calls us on Monday and says, hey, I need a part. And that usually means they need that part for that next weekend. And we want to make sure that we can do a good job of that. So that tagline, built by racers for racers, is really that we get it. We want to make sure that we do a good job by the racers and we listen to them and actually, do the right things first. And we think having good products, getting the product out to the customers when they need it, treating them fair at the races, and just basically being honest is something that has been lacking, and we're wanting to do that.
Now, you said, wrecking on Monday or Saturday, ordering on Monday. What are the shipping parameters going to be? Are they going to be able to call up and say, hey, I need this specific part of the wheel, can you get it to me by Saturday? How quickly is the turnaround going to be?
Our main focus is having the quickest turnaround as quick a turnaround as possible. We're really not going to be focused on too much the same day or next day shipping. We're going to get it out to you as soon as we can. If the products are available and in stock, there's no reason why it can't ship out next day, or even same day for that matter, but it all depends on when you get called in, what the product is, and it has to be built, and what exactly goes into it. But if we have it on the shelf, we will do our best to get it to you by racing weekend.
We've made a lot of investment in inventory, mainly for that reason. We know that if you don't have it in stock, it's kind of hard to ship from an empty shelf, and it's also kind of hard to race with no wheels on your car. So we know it's one of the first things that people have to address if they do get in an accident the week before, that they've got to get the car back rolling again. So we're usually going to be the first call, and we've got to make sure that we can respond. Inventory is everything, so we put a lot of focus on it. You're looking at it right behind us. So.
Now, you said that you took a year off from selling wheels, really only selling the inventory that you had acquired. Now, when are you going to start selling the new product?
I'd say probably what we're really trying to do is get everything ready for the release at the PRI show coming up here in December in Indianapolis. We're going to have all the new product there, and it's going to really kind of be our reintroduction of Vahlco as a brand and as a product line out into the market. We're hoping to have all of our products actually in stock and ready to ship in that couple-day turnaround that we're talking about, probably around the 1st of January. And we've got a lot of excited racers. We just got done talking to another one that just walked in the door that is excited about next year, and they're looking at switching their product over from other competitors. And it's something it's kind of humbling and refreshing to have a lot of these guys that I know I've talked to in the past, and Matt has, and, that they're willing to look our way and give us a chance. There's a lot of good competitors out there, and we're trying to make sure that we are worthy competitor ourselves and make sure we have good product.
Now, we talked to Linton Jeffrey, who's down at the World Finals, and he's one of your main testers for the sprint car portion. You have wheels in research and development. You have some with Danny Lasowski, you have some with Stuart Friesen, some with Neil Williams. Is there anybody else that, is of notable, or, really notable that are on your wheels currently and that are testing your product?
I mean, as far as being on the wheels, currently, those are guys that are on specifically Vahlco racing wheels. As far as product testing that I've been in constant contact with, we've had Mike Payne from MPR Racing, who fielded a car for Eric Rudolph, and earlier in the season, Dale Plank's been heavily involved in the modified market. Taylor, I know, has been talking to a lot of sprint car guys along the way that have been influential in our decision making for what we're going with as far as our inventory side and what they're looking for from their racing wheel company. But you touched on the main ones for our research and development portion for actually on-track testing.
Our main thing is we just want to get laps on product. Nothing really proves whether a product's going to stand up, other than laps. You get laps on them, you hit walls, you bounce off cushions and other racers, you find out what works and doesn't work pretty quick. And Linton actually has been very helpful this year on trying to help us get us constructive feedback immediately. I was talking to Linton pretty much every Monday after he was done racing that weekend and saying, okay, what worked, what didn't work, what do we got to change? And we changed quite a bit through the year, and that's one of the reasons I think we're at the juncture we're at now with the product. I think our product now is some really tough, good quality product that's going to be able to stand up to racers' needs.
Now, is there anybody that, in particular, that you feel would take the company to the next level by signing on and being a Vahlco customer?
Guess no comment on that. We got a lot of people that we've talked to in confidence. I guess I can say that I'm very thankful to people I've bumped into along the way, and a lot of people that we've talked to this year, and I think people will be surprised at some of the people that will end up running our product next year. That's about all I can say.
Now, Taylor, you've been in this business for a very long time. What's your background in the racing wheel industry?
I grew up in a racing family. My dad, my uncles, my grandfather, they all grew up building, owning, driving sprint cars. And I grew up in a wheel business since I was a little kid. I kind of kid people. I say the first paying job I had was sweeping the floors at Weld Wheels back when I was 14. It's always been my passion. It's been something that, people say, your passion is usually what you do if you weren't getting paid. Well, I'd probably do this if I wasn't getting paid. It's nice that I do, but it really is truly a passion that, I've had for years. I've made lifelong friends and obviously have family in the business and in the racing world, and it's just something that's kind of close to my heart, and it's something that I'm happy to be in a position to do again.
Now, Matt, I think people would be surprised at how long you've been in this industry. Why don't you give us a little bit about your background?
My background with racing, actually, I've been racing since I was 6 years old. I started out in dirt bikes, and ended up getting into a microsprint, I believe, when I was 13 or 14 years old. But I've always been around race cars. Always at Bridgeport Speedway, up this way, at New Egypt, and around the area for modified racing. As far as being involved in the racing wheels industry, I've been around for, this is going on my second year now, actually third year. Come January of 2015, I spent the last year at Valken and was thankfully brought on through the transition to Vahlco, and yeah, been around racing my entire life.
Now, we have some products on the table, and this is kind of a first in the state of New Jersey that is, the racing in New Jersey is governed by the state police. And Fred and you guys have been instrumental in getting the plastic wheel cover into the test portion of your program here in the state of New Jersey because it is illegal. Can you talk to us a little bit about, how instrumental that is going to be moving forward?
Yeah, a lot of this with one of the things that we were allowed to do when Fred bought the company is he really did give us the opportunity to go back and say, okay, let's truly make this right. Let's go ahead and fix the things that need to be fixed. And some of these things weren't things that we had, it was things that actually were even in the industry. With New Jersey, it has a special rule that required all mud covers to be threaded, fastened onto the wheels. So, you know, a lot of people call them Jersey style covers. It's actually a mud cover that was bolted behind the beadlock bolts of the wheel. The reason for that is, you know, back in the past, this probably goes back close to 20 years, maybe even more than that. They had wheels, they had covers that would come off the cars and they, you know, cause injuries. We went back and looked at the problem and tried to come up with something that actually addressed the problem instead of just trying to find a better way to make a different jersey cover. So we actually came up with a thermoformed Lexan cover that covers all the beadlock, covers the bolts, everything up. It's lighter than carbon fiber, it's cheaper than aluminum, it has a rolled radius edge on the outside, so there's no danger of somebody actually any kind of slicing or you know, damage that can cause like that. We showed it to the state police. They looked at it and they said, yeah, this probably is going to fix the problem. So they're giving us a provisional acceptance of running this product. It's something that, even though this is really a first-year company making a product, you know, this is a problem that's been out and just accepted in the market in New Jersey for 20 plus years. So just because it's something that's new doesn't mean it's something, you know, something that's been around for a long time doesn't mean it's something that we can't address immediately. So this is just one indication of the type of stuff that we're looking at doing.
Now, I know a lot of drivers at New Egypt Speedway had seen the wheel cover on the 323, and is it going to be readily available to all drivers or just your research and development drivers?
No, it'll actually be available to all drivers. In fact, it'll work with other manufacturers' products as well. So we try to make sure that we came up with a product that worked not just with the Vahlco product, but with other manufacturers' product as well.
Now, another product that you found was a bead buster that is a cool little nifty toy that's sitting in front of you.
Yeah.
That makes it a whole lot easier on, you know, the people with the tires.
Yeah. Unfortunately, whether I like it or not, I've probably broke down, I'd say hundreds, but it's probably closer to thousands of tires in my life. And anybody that's done it knows it's not the job that everybody wants. It's usually the guy that drew the short straw. So breaking down tires on racing wheels has usually been something where you either had to have a strong back or a very good tolerance for pain, because it usually ends up that way. We found a product that we're actually working with a company called Bead on, and it works slick as a button, and it dismounts tires quicker and safer than almost anything else I've seen. And so as soon as we really saw the product and got to talking to the inventors, we said we think we want to be the guys to help distribute this product. So we actually have an exclusive for the entire racing market, and looks like they're going to be great partners. They make a good product, and all the guys, when we showed the product down the World Finals in Charlotte, every single person that saw it didn't want to give it back, and they wanted to buy 2 of them. So we must have hit on something that people see as a need in the market. Again, we're trying to find solutions for the market that you know, maybe haven't existed for a long time, but we're trying to do things a little bit different than a lot of the guys have in the past.
Now, when will they be available for purchase? Because I know people want them.
Yeah, we're planning to debut the product along with the Vahlco Sprint and late model modified and 10-inch wheels at the PRI show in Indianapolis. We're expecting to have the first product available probably towards the end of December, 1st of January. But we've got adequate supply coming in, and you know, like I said, we've kind of torture tested these things over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and we've been really impressed with the hold up of the product. And we think that we're going to have plenty for the people that come and want to go after the PRI show.
Now, you guys talked about bringing sprint wheels back into the company. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you're offering the sprint car guys?
Yeah, the sprint car market, you know, it's a fairly established market as far as sizes. We are going to offer, you know, all the different sizes and offsets that the guys run for the fronts and the rears. We're offering inside beadlocks, double beadlocks for the rears. You know, all the deeper offsets like 6 and 7 back, like some guys are now running. You know, we pretty much have the capability, because it's a modular wheel where you've got, you know, interchangeable inners and outers. You can make any size wheel from 6-inch to 20-inch, you know, even though the sizes, you know, the main sizes are 8 and 9-inch for the front, 14 and 15 for the left rear, and 17, 18 for the right rear. So we can make anything, and all of our parts that we have are interchangeable with other manufacturers' wheels. So if a guy crashes another manufacturer's wheel and they can't get an outer half, give us a call and we'll see if we can help them out.
Now the wheels that were on the market for the Sprints before had a lot of issues. Can you elaborate on how you fixed them going forward?
Yes, we started over. We started over and spent a lot of money on tooling. We really, I can honestly say, we had to start from scratch, clean sheet of paper, brand new designs. We changed materials, we changed thicknesses, we changed tooling, we changed pretty much every single possible thing you can change, mainly to bring the product in line with what would be considered a top tier product. And so, you know, we made a lot of little changes that most people will never see, but when you add them all up, it's the difference between a good solid B and an A. We want to make sure that we're making an A grade product, and that's, I think, where we were at. So.
Now it's been documented that the owner crushed and scrapped most of the inventory that he acquired. Now what is going to be the difference between the inventory that he crushed and the new stuff coming out?
Well, I think, you know, I think that's kind of a funny thing that people might have seen, like on our Facebook page. You know, when you take a ginormous front end loader and start smashing things with a bucket like they're, you know, tin cans, you know, it makes a statement that we are not going to do it like we used to. And Fred is not afraid to scrap the old way and start over and do it right. And that's really what he did. You know, it's kind of cool. You get to see all that stuff get smushed, but at the same time, you know, we did, it was a costly lesson, but definitely one that's going to stick with us as far as making sure that we don't do mistakes like that again. And, you know, the product that we have going forward won't have to be smashed. And that's the main thing. I think it's a product that can stand up against anybody's in the market. And, you know, like I said, it's interchangeable, and I think that, you know, it's just proof that we're serious when we say we're going to make a better product and we're not going to compromise. We're not just going to try to shovel the old stuff out the back door at half price or something like that. We are not, you know, we're not in this just to try to squeeze another buck out of somebody. You know, we're racers. We've been on the receiving end of UPS packages and FedEx packages. You know, we don't want to end up getting something that's not up to our standards, so we sure wouldn't want to send it to somebody else.
Now you guys are concentrating a lot in the dirt market. Is there any plans to expand from that? You know, your competitors are in drag racing and street racing. Is there any, or are you going to concentrate solely on dirt?
We're going to concentrate on dirt. The oval track market has always kind of been near and dear to my heart, and I do think that market needs some attention from the wheel companies. We're definitely going to give it to them, and we've got a lot of other stuff that we've got in the bank as far as new product, but we're really going to stay focused on the oval track market for right now. That is our market, that is our customers, and we don't want to let them down.
Okay, so we are currently sitting right now in part of your display that's going to be used at the PRI show in a couple of weeks. What are your plans for the big unveil there?
Our plans for the big unveil, I mean, you can see that literally in the middle of the warehouse, we actually constructed our booth. We want to make sure that we look as professional as possible, let people know that we're serious about what we do. We're here to play. We're not here to just half-ass what we're doing. We're putting every effort into our booth and into our product offering as we can, what we expect from our customers as being a customer. What we're planning on doing is unveiling all of our new products we have. Obviously, what's sitting in front of you. Getting everybody to first look at the all-new Wide 5 wheels. The all-new sprint car wheels, and just really getting the product into people's hands. We're going to have our, for lack of a better description, our beverage bar to really like lure people in. You know, it's an inviting environment. It's something that we want you to be part of. We're not, you know, trying to be stuck-up people.
Okay, now with the new company, are you going to be taking any custom wheel orders from any of the, you know, better-known drivers?
Quite frankly, no. We're going to specialize in the wheel sizes that are standard to the market, and the standard size widths and offsets that are basically your change for your setup for your car. Your backup wheels that might loosen your car but tighten your car up. But as far as making a custom size wheel, 15-inch wide or 16-inch wide, Wide 5, or a 2-inch backspace for one specific customer is just really not worth it. And there's people out there in the market, like Real Racing Wheels, that handle the niche markets a hell of a lot better, and they're all in-house. in-house and load prepare for that.
Now, you guys, we talked about Linton Jeffries and how he's one of your research and developers. He's from Australia and he brings his wheels back to Australia. Do you guys do international shipping?
Yes, we do, and it's something that we're looking seriously at making a big push in Australia in the coming year. Having Linton on our test team basically to do that obviously is a big strategic advantage because he does have very good relationships with customers and even dealers over in Australia and New Zealand, and racing over there, their winter or our winter is their summer. So as soon as everything starts dying down here, it's picking right back up in Australia and New Zealand. So it's definitely a market that for the sprint, midget, and micro market, which I think they call speed cars over there. It's definitely something that they want to do, that we want to do with them, and it's definitely a part of our future.
Now, where do you see the company expanding beyond, the opening and kind of, I don't know.
If it's racing, if it's a racing wheel, we're gonna build it. I think that there really is no limitations that Fred has put on what we can do with Vahlco. It's really our own discipline on how fast and far we want to grow this. We do want to stay focused on the oval track market for the next year or two. But we've been pretty clear that we want to stick to the racing market. We don't want to try to branch out and do car wheels and truck wheels and motorcycles. Quite honestly, I've done that, and I did all that so I can do the racing stuff. So to do only the racing stuff is all I ever wanted to do anyway. And this is the meat. This is the deal. This is what this is why you do all the other stuff, so you can do the racing stuff. And that's one of the things that I think is really cool about Vahlco is, we're focused on racing and that's it. We're not worried about, any kind of bling stuff or any of that. We want to, we want to actually go to the racetrack and get dirty with everybody else. And, that's where my roots are. That's where Matt's is, and that's, even where Fred's is. So that's, Fred wouldn't have a race car team and he wouldn't have a racetrack if he didn't, really want to do this. Anybody that has a race team knows it's, not something you just do casually. It's a lot of work and a lot of, sometimes aggravation, but you got to have a real strong desire to do it if you're going to do it well. And that's one of the things with Vahlco. I think we're definitely going to stay focused on the racing side, but we're also going to work our butt off and have fun.
Now, you guys are trying to offer, or are going to offer a superior product. Does that worry you for your, down the road, maybe, guys might not buy as many wheels because they still have them on the,
I don't think so. It's our job to basically put the best product we can out in the market. We got to listen to the customers. We got to try to, first and foremost, you got to give them a safe product. Second of all, you got to give them a product that performs, as good or better than anything else out there. You got to listen to the customer. You got to sell them to them at a price they can afford. That's pretty subjective anymore. It seems like, you got guys that can afford almost anything, and you got other guys that pay out of their own pocket, and it's every penny counts. But I have never worried about making a product so good that nobody will buy it. Race cars, racers, intrinsically want to get something that's going to make them go faster. They want to beat the other guy. So it's our job to give them something that can help keep them safe, help them go fast, help them look good, help them get to the racetrack and back home again. So that's what we're going to do. As long as we do that and we service them good, I think we'll sell as many as we need to.
Now, what is your booth number going to be at the PRI show?
We're actually in the Peninsula 3757, located directly next to GoPro in the yellow hall.
Well, we look forward to seeing your product unveil at the PRI show. Thanks so much for sitting down with us today, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.